Morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to have you in this online workshop. Thank you so much for joining. We are really excited to discuss with you about a very important topic today. But I'm not going to steal the time now from the speakers. As you know, we have a very tight schedule. We have a very tight agenda for today. I will leave the floor right now to the coordinator of the project, and then I will explain a bit better what's the main aim of this workshop, or why we are doing this, and what's the agenda for today. So again, I don't want to steal time from those who will be presenting today. So I will give the floor immediately to Mireia first. Thank you, Mireia. So you can start presenting as soon as we can see your presentation. It's
Thank you.
coming, but it's not there yet.
Okay, thank you, Chiara, for the nice introduction. For those who are not aware of what CCRI is, I want to introduce a little bit what is the Circular Cities and Regions Initiative. Can you confirm that you see my screen? Because I
don't see it yet. And I don't think that it's my problem. We cannot see your screen, but we can also no try again.
Yeah, I will
Please.
try again. One moment. Now, right?
It's coming, but not. Yes, now we can see it. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Sorry. Yeah, I want to introduce what is the Circular and Cities Regions Initiative for those who are not aware of what it is. It's an initiative launched and supported by the European Commission, and it tries to support cities and regions in the way from a linear to circular economy. So for that, the CCRI provides different services and tools, and here you have an overview of the different type of services and resources that the CCRI provides to regions and cities in an open and easy to understand way. The first pillar is knowledge, and here the idea is to provide inspiring stories, tools, guidance, and easy to use resources for help and support cities and regions in this transition. Then we have some services to exchange, that it's peer learning and networking between cities and regions. And the last pillar is addressed to support you in this way with dedicated services. And we are the CCRI Knowledge Hub, and what the CCRI Knowledge Hub brings to you, to cities and regions, we are developing a marketplace to identify and explain different technologies that can be used as a neighbor to this way, to this transition. We are also systematizing and making in a friendly way useful resources to put that easy to understand to all of you. And also we are providing customized support. And this workshop, it's indeed one of the tools of the capacity building activities that we are providing to selected cities and regions. So in order to support them in dedicated or the needed topics that they have expressed after a diagnosis and conversation with them. And at the end of the project, of course, we will provide some policy recommendation based on the knowledge generated along the 3 years project. And if you want to know more, or you are interested to be part of our network, and you are right now not supported by the CCRI, it's a plan to have a new call for cities and regions in May, June. The time it's to be confirmed, but just to let you know that if you were not aware of this first round of support, you will have another opportunity. For those that are in the waiting list, there will be also a second opportunity to be supported by our mentoring program. And if you want to know more about this or other interesting topics, yes, you have the website, the newsletter, and of course, you can write us to this email. I will copy anyway the email to the chat so you can have it in a proper way. And very brief and on time, Chiara. So that's all from my side.
Yes, thank you very much, Mireia. Thank you for providing a bit of a context for this workshop. And now that the introduction, we know a bit more about the CCRI. For those of you who are not familiar with it, I will give the floor to the representative of the Norwegian region for which the workshop has been designed and organized. So Solveig Storms, apologies for my Norwegian, which is not is not perfect. Solveig.
Yes.
Good morning. Hi.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this workshop on material hubs. I'm so happy to see so many of you here today, and we really appreciate that you've taken the time to join us, because you've all been handpicked because of your knowledge and background, and I'm really looking forward to having that in the discussion later on. So, as Chiara was saying, my name is Solveig Stornes. I'm from the Møre and Romsdal County Council, and I work on circular economy, and then especially on topics that are important for our municipalities in the region and for the society as a whole. And we've chosen to focus on material hubs because the topic highlights both the shared international challenges on this topic, but also the specific regional ones, particularly in our rural areas that are like ours in Møre and Romsdal. So we are really looking forward to see how the material hubs can be a part of the solution in our region, where places like that where material and resources can be collected and sorted, and also how to make sense of it locally and create value across the sectors. So in this workshop, it's really important because we want to hear from you as stakeholders who understand the barriers. You can share reflections, knowledge, and we're really trying to work out how to find sustainable business models that can work not only for our region, but also for other rural areas. And also to find concrete outcomes for ideas, partnership, and maybe even projects that we can take on after today. So we really want to stay in touch. And again, I thank you so much for being here, and I'm really looking forward to discussions. And with that, I'll hand the word back to you, Chiara.
Thank you, Solveig. Perfect introduction to the workshop. So I think that now you do have both the general context and the specific one, so why this workshop was organized and designed. So I will now provide you a very brief overview of what we are going to do and why it's important that you stick with us until the end, because we do have some case studies presentations to start with. As appetizers, I would say, but then we do have some virtual breakout group sessions. So it's very important that you stick around so that you can actually do what Solveig just explained, meaning sharing ideas and thoughts, discuss together, explore opportunities for collaborations as well. So let me share my screen shortly so that we can go through the agenda together. I hope you can see my screen.
Yes,
can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, good. So, okay, we will start from case studies, and as you can see, we have a variety of stakeholders speaking today. So thank you very much again for joining. And why the core topic is on material hubs. As you can see here, we have a different kind of approaches to the material hubs. Some of them are a bit more specific and rooted in one country. Other refers to European project, and you will hear different kind of perspectives in relation revolving around the topic of the material hubs. One thing that I should mention, unfortunately, Nea from the city of Turku cannot join today due to personal reason. But as I said before, please time-wise, if you can present in 10 minutes, it would be great, so that we can ensure that now that after the presentations, we do have the Q&A. So hold on your horses. Don't ask, please, questions, but write them down during the presentations themselves, or write them in the chat if you prefer. Because we will have a 15 minutes Q&A at the end of all presentations. And then we will have a break at 11:30 for 10 minutes, and then we will ask you please to be on time back for the breakout group sessions. So what we are going to do during the work group, basically we will split you up in groups, in teams. You will have a facilitator. The facilitators are all internal from Icons, from us, who will guide a discussion using a pre-filled Miro board, focusing on a few key aspects that we would like to explore with you. So drivers, barriers, and lessons learned, if you have any, and you wanted to share lessons learned or case studies, best practices in relation to material hubs. So that's why I said before, please stick around until the end. The presentations are very important, and we are pleased to have all these interesting speakers, but the group sessions are important as well. Also because what we are going to do in the wrap-up is to present the outcomes from the group sessions. So you will work with your facilitator on Miro board, which are already there for you to work on, and then the outcomes from the Miro board will be presented during the wrap-up. Another thing that I wanted to, another message that I would like to convey before I leave the floor to the first speaker. The idea for this workshop is not just to discuss today on material hubs and to share lessons learned and best practices, but the key, there will be some key takeaways for you to reflect upon. So what we would like to do at the end of this workshop, in a week, you will get the key takeaways, so that we hope that this will stay with you in terms of reflections, in terms of insights, maybe also, but it depends on the discussion, maybe also in terms of best practices that you can apply, if possible, considering the drivers, the constraints, and everything you have to work with in your context, but that you can perhaps apply or discuss within your organization. So again, also thank you from our side to all the stakeholders who joined today. We know that it's a lot to ask for a 2 hours and 30 minutes workshop, so we really appreciate that you have taken the time to join us. And we are looking forward to the discussion that we will have, and to the presentations as well. So let's get started from the presentation. So I will ask the first speaker, who is Tor Gausemel Christensen from Iris Salten, to share your screen if you have a presentation. Thank you, Tor, and feel free to go ahead and to present. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you well.
You can see my screen as well, or?
Yes.
Very good. You can see a PowerPoint. Okay. Okay. Well, thank you for inviting me to speak here today in a very busy, I have a very busy schedule, but I'll try to join you for the workshop as much as possible as well, in addition to this brief presentation, and I'll respect my time slot of 10 minutes. Yeah, I work in a company, or a group of company actually, called Iris. What we do is, we do, well, several things. We have a lab, and we have a water cleaning facility company, but we also do a lot of waste handling. That's our core business. And we're partially commercial and partially owned by municipalities. I will today tell you a little about our reuse central, as we call it, and also about the background, and also about what I used to do before I started working with this waste management company that I'm working in now as the head of development and sustainability. In Norway, Circular Norway concluded that we're only 2.4 circular. So we got a job to do in Norway, and as being a representative for a waste management company, we need to contribute to increase this circularity degree. This is the waste that we get in to our facilities. This is you can see the pizza slice. I've translated the words to English, if you see here on the right. This is what we basically do with the waste that we get in here. So 42% goes to recycling, but only 0.3% goes to reuse. You can barely see the pizza slice that represents the reuse degree in our company. And this is something that I think can be generalized to Norway and many other places in Europe. So we want to increase that, obviously, and I will tell you how we've, since we discovered these numbers, has worked towards increasing the reuse percentage. We are also doing actions to reduce the disposal degree, but also the incineration degree, and also increasing the recycling degree, because we have these EU goals that we need to reach. We need to be 65% circular before 2030, I believe, is one of the things that we need to work towards. Before I started working in this waste management company, I used to manage a EU project. I'm still managing another EU project in the company that I'm working now, but today's theme, I think this is the most relevant to bring up, and that project was City Loops. I've listed the actions or the main things that we did in City Loops. We used visualization for sustainability. We partly developed or was a part of the development of using digital twins for material mapping. I would love to at another time tell you more about that. But we do not have time for that today. We tried to increase the practice of circular procurement in Bodø municipality. That is a municipality in the Arctic part of Norway. We did some stakeholder involvement activities. We did a material flow analysis that I also would like to tell you more about at another occasion. We also identified the potential for establishing a market for reused resources, and also did some analysis on how you can actually make money from circularity, and these are the things that I will tell you about today. I can send you my presentations because I have some interesting links. For example, links to the European Handbook on Promoting Circular Construction for Local and Regional Governments, which was one of the many publications that we made in this City Loops project. We also did the urban circularity assessment. We found out that, well, like the rest of Norway, we are not very circular here. We process a lot of materials. We import a lot of materials, and most of it goes into new buildings, but only 20,000 tons of all these 100,000 tons of that's we're importing are getting reused. So we identified in this project that there's a big opportunity to make the economy more circular. I've also added a link to these findings if you want to deep dive into them. So we also found out, well, I'm not going to go through all these boring numbers, but these numbers are telling us that we need to do more domestic extraction and we need to do more recovery and less imports of new materials. We also was a part of developing this thing that I'm showing you now. I will go into the website where this is. This is a visualization of all the buildings and all the materials. Oh, it's loading. Yeah, there you go. Of all the buildings and all the materials in a city. We did this in all the European cities that was a part of the City Loops project. And then you can browse through the city. You can click into different buildings and you can see then what materials the building consists of, how much it is of it, when the building was built, and so on. And you can also add documents to the buildings, and you can also add plans for the building, for example, demolition plans. So in this case, then you'll have a visual representation of the city and all the materials that lies in it. And this might help municipalities or other decision makers or entrepreneurs to map where reusable resources are lying. So let's go back to the PowerPoint. Because we did this urban circular analysis, we did some visualization, some mapping. We, for example, mapped what materials and masses are reusable in a specific city project, city development project. We made an app for reuse mapping that you could go into a building, take your pictures, and then automatically make a reuse map based on the descriptions. But I think now with AI applications, these types of tools can be very, very improved. Let's see how much time I got left. I got left like 3 or 4 minutes. Then I'm just going to jump into this Salten-Umbrukscentral. Salten-Umbrukscentral is, well, in English, it's called Salten Reuse Central. This is actually a physical store that we set up in 2023, actually at the end of 2023. As a result for the need for increasing the reuse numbers, but also as a part of the explorations that we did about finding the potential for establishing a reuse central. So we did that. We just jumped in it. We didn't do much. We didn't do much business development activities. We just like jumped into it and got a location for it. The location showed soon that it was too small, so we're now actually moving the reuse central, the physical reuse central, into a bigger storage house on, I think it's about 1,000 square meters. So well, entrepreneurs can come to this specific warehouse and put the reused materials there, or also surplus materials that they maybe have bought for a project but they do not need anymore. So instead of paying and treating it as waste, they can pretty much donate it to this specific reuse central that we've established and that we are further developing as we speak. So there's all kinds of materials, building materials, lumber, plumbing, shelving, painting, many types of materials that other entrepreneurs finds interesting and has interest in buying for a cheaper price than from the store. So we've not separated this into a separate company, but we're thinking about doing that as well. For now, it's part of a daughter company that we have that does the handling of the waste that we collect in this waste management company that I'm working in now. lot of different projects. It's not just a store. It's not just a warehouse. We are proactive. So when we know that a hotel or any other buildings are going to be demolished, we invite ourselves to that building, and then we take out what we find reusable, and then we put it in the warehouse, the aforementioned warehouse, ensuring that these materials are not being treated as waste, ensuring that the ones that are demolishing the building don't have to pay for treatment of the resources as waste, and ensuring that we supply the store with new and reusable materials. And I have plenty examples of that. But then again, I have a limited time, so I won't go into all of this, but I'd be glad to answer questions. And also you can contact me directly if you want more questions about it. This is one example where all the buildings in one specific street had to be demolished because of city development projects. So we did what we do. We invited ourselves to this street and called the street the Reuse Street. And then we invited everyone to just come buy stuff from the buildings that was there, ensuring the reuse of the interior and materials in these planned demolished buildings. We've done some calculations about the climate benefits of doing this. These numbers that I'm showing you now is not representative because this is an old presentation, actually. This was 2 months after we started the reuse store, but just after 2 months, we, together with an external part, calculated that the climate effect that we had was about 9 tons of CO2 equivalents just by ensuring reusing. I haven't calculated the new numbers, but they are so much bigger than the ones that I'm presenting now, because it has been in activity a couple of years ago, and a couple of years now, and there's so many resources, and things are actually looking quite fine financially. But as I said, we haven't separated it to a separate company yet, but that will give us a better understanding of the financial sustainability of such projects as this. We have 12 reuse projects going on now, because this I've showed you till now has been more focused on businesses, but now we have 12 in recycling stations in the area that we're operating now, and we have big investments on reuse activities on these recycling stations that we own now. We're going to build new facilities, buy new containers. We are in a process now where we're inviting reuse collaborators, for example, reuse shops that will agree with us to come sort out or bring to their shop the things that we are classifying as reusable, that maybe our customers has tried to classify it as waste. So this is a new way of thinking and creating reuse and circular business and a way for us to ensure that the reuse degree that I've told you about is getting increased. So I don't have more time now, I think, but I'd be glad to talk more about this at another occasion. And feel free to contact me at any point, and I will send this presentation to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Thor. I do have some questions already, but I have noted them down, so maybe you can expand on some of the aspects, some of the issues that you mentioned in your presentation during the Q&A. Thank you. So we do have now Stine from DTI presenting from a different perspective, because here we have heard about the Norwegian perspective. So a deep dive into the projects, into some of the projects that Thor mentioned. And now we have a circular approach applied within the context of an EU-funded project. So Stine, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Kira. Hopefully you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
That is good. Okay, so yeah, My name is Stina, and I work for the Danish Technological Institute, which is the coordinator of this project. It's called Wood Circles, and it's the Horizon Europe project, as Chiara said. So I'm going to explain a bit, present, of course, very overall. I don't have too much time, the project, and then also what we're doing in relation to what we call the urban sawmill. There it is. Okay, good. This is just a quick picture to show some of the nice faces we have involved in the project. This was taken at the kickoff meeting we had in June 2023. So we're almost nearing 2 years of duration here. We have various partners involved, of course, both producers, we have universities, we have some cities also involved, municipalities, and as you can see in the map here, of course, divided, split all over Europe. Yes, okay, so you know this, I'm not going to go into detail, but it's very linear, the European construction sector today, and very non-renewable, which is what we're focusing on in Wood Circles, trying to change this and making it more circular. So we have the forest, of course, creating materials, products, building, and after end of life, the idea is, of course, that we're circular. We all know this. And then when you build in timber, it's often good that when you reach the end of life, you still have kind of zero generation, waste generation, in the sense that you get energy whenever you burn the timber, which you can charge your cars with or whatever. And then, of course, you have the CO2 that the trees take up, but then when you plant more trees, it will take up the CO2 again, and then hopefully we don't have as much waste as in the construction industry we had today. So the overarching objectives of this project is, of course, to decrease the greenhouse gas emissions, waste generation, and materials consumption of the European construction sector by increasing the circular exploitation of urban forest materials. The urban forest, of course, is the forest that is in the cities, right? So all the timber, all the materials we have in the city, we call this the urban forest instead of the natural forest. Okay, so also to establish new and innovative circular and sustainable value chains for recycled renewable materials, to release the potential of digital technologies to catalyze the deployment and market uptake of high volume, high impact value added and cost-effective circular solutions for wood in construction. And then lastly, to increase the quality of and confidence in reuse and recycled materials, both in industry and consumer level. So we have two main circular focus areas. One is that we have the present, which is we have a lot of materials in buildings today. Whenever we take them down, now of course we're focusing on wood here, but whenever we take them out, they often look like this. I would say often even worse. Okay, so how exactly to reuse this? It's very difficult. So that is one aspect of the project. The other one focuses more on whenever we build today, how can we actually design for disassembly? So the future reuse will be a lot easier than it is today, as shown here. So we have here, of course, this is very, very quickly, I'm going to go over here, the forest, right? So we have a sawmill creating material we certify that we can use into various products. Then this whole digital twin with grading and qualitative data. Now, very nice to see what you showed on the map there, Tor. But here also to add, I think, more details. I would look forward to go into a bit more deep in that, but more details on the products actually that are in. So we kind of have this building passport, so to say, consisting of all the data. This is a wish, it's not included in the project, but we're still actually trying to prepare for this to be made. And then of course building, and then after here you have this waste, as you saw in the other picture, in the previous picture as well, right? So the urban forest and then this urban sawmill come into place, which is a big focus in this project. So then you start all over, right? Certification, you create products again, and then starting it all over. So we kind of have two, that's the very important arrow there. Good. Okay, so mainly consisting of 3 pillars, this one project, and then of course below you have communication and project management, not too interesting. So the first one is about looking into materials. How can we create products with reused materials? The second here, design for disassembly, of course, and then how to digitalize it and how to make this urban sawmill more automized and actually a good business case. The second one is whenever we develop something new, of course, we have to test it, we have to document. We would like to, of course, use city piloting. So we're building a small pilot that this is what the figure here below shows, that we are actually moving it. So the idea is that we build it, construct it one place, then take it down, because of course we would like to train this, right? Then we move it to another city that's involved in the project, put it up again, take it down, move it to another city to illustrate this design for disassembly, of course, but it's possible to disassemble and to put it back up again. So this is a very interesting aspect, of course, of the project. And then the last pillar is about stakeholder engagement. And of course, the whole business models, how can we make money on this? That's one part, but also make sure that the market actually take up the results that we have in this project. Okay, so going back to this good pile of timber here, what we did with this here was that it was sent to DTI. I just took a few of the pictures. This is not all of the timber, but we received 3 batches because we would look into, okay, how does it look like actually? So a lot of the timber, as you see in the first picture here, looks nice. A lot of it here, also some of it was discarded already, but most of it was actually processed. So processed meaning here we have, of course, nail removals. We removed the first very obvious nails. We cut it into sizes that made sense, of course, and then prepared it for shipping. And then it was shipped to a producer, which also actually did this process. So they had to cut it, of course, into lamellas that could be reused into their product. So to ensure that it didn't damage their machinery, of course, they had to make sure that there was no metal in it. And we didn't go into detail in this. We just removed the obvious part. So I think they removed additionally around 3,000 nails or such. So it was actually quite a lot, not nails necessarily, but metal pieces at least. So it was quite comprehensive. And I think the big learning from this was that as a producer, there's no business case in this. They spent too much time cleaning timber like this. So for them to have a good business in creating products from recycled timber, sorry, then of course it would be that they actually have it delivered after it's cleaned. So it's ready to actually just put into their production as it is today. So just last week, this is actually what came out of this material. So they produced an element looking very nice. This is not even sanded or anything. This is like coming right out from the press. So that was very good to see. I wouldn't say it's obvious that it's reused timber, but yeah. So it is possible, but the whole idea is that it's not a good business case for them if they have to clean, because it's a big mess and it's a lot of work. So the whole urban sawmill, then what is the potential of this? Of course, I can't show too many results because it's still under development. Hopefully that will be in a year or two. But as they're working on now, of course, metal detection is an important part. They have to localize it and remove it. It's the robot lab in Amsterdam who's responsible for this part. So it's about automating all of it. How much damage can we actually make on the timber to still maintain the quality of the timber? Because some screws might be, a bit uneven placed, and then you can't necessarily screw it out. So could you bore around it and just remove a slice of the timber? And then how much damage is actually possible to do on the timber? So it's all, I guess, time versus value versus quality. Then another part of this urban sawmill is, of course, the visual inspection. So not cracks, holes, whatever. Normally when you strength grade timber, you look at knots and cracks and, of course, mold and whatever like this, which comes from the natural timber. But now in the urban forest, of course, we have the whole holes addition to it. So nail plates or whatever it could be, of course, they leave marks on the timber. And then what does that mean in relation to the quality of the timber? Yes, and then we discuss, of course, as well in the project in which order, because it would be very nice that we can actually some kind of visually inspect it before removing the metal, because removing the metal is a lot of work. We spent a lot of time on this. And then if it turns out we actually have to discard it anyways afterwards, it's a lot of time spent on, not a very effective piece, right? Yes, so that would be
Stine, sorry
Yes,
for interrupting. One
no,
minute.
it's fine. I'm actually done now, so it's very fine. Very quickly, I will just show the whole how we are thinking about this. So one thing is that you have the urban sawmill as a wood upcycling business. So taking down buildings, then taking it to this constructed site, which is called the urban sawmill. Then you get the material out. Another part is that you actually use it as you have a central hub, and then you can deliver the machines to the deconstruction sites instead. So that's one part we're discussing a bit, and also maybe combining it, right? So one is that you have the central processing where material is coming in, but the other one is that you still rent out machinery to the construction site. So this is kind of a part of it as well. Not only the technical, but of course that's very important. Thank you. I hope I made it within the minute.
You did.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stine. Perfect. So thanks a lot for this presentation. We know that the project is not finished yet, so it's very good to see some progress already. Very interesting to explore a bit the concept of the urban sawmill, and maybe we will have some time later to discuss a bit more on that. And now, again, a smooth transition, I think, from the European project Wood Circles to circular hubs in the Dutch context. So I will leave the floor to Roy and Peter, if he's there, for their presentation.
Yes, I'm also here.
Yeah.
Yeah, hello. I think I shared my screen.
We can see your screen, yes. It's not in presentation mode yet, but we can see your presentation.
And now it is, right?
Yeah. Thank you, Roy.
All right. Well, hello, good morning, everyone. I will very quickly introduce myself. My name is Roy. I'm working at the business association Circulair Groningen-Drenthe. We are a collective of mostly companies, but also educational, knowledge hubs, institutions, governments, social organizations that all try to stimulate and shape the circular economy. We only exist for about 2 years now, but we've already grown to more than 120 members at the moment. So there is a lot of enthusiasm from companies and also all of their partners to make the transition towards a more circular economy. We are very locally focused in the two provinces, Groningen and Drenthe in the Netherlands. The reason why I'm here today is because I was asked to show some examples of circular hubs, material hubs that are local. What I would quickly like to mention is that we have a building program in assignment of local governments or other organizations that are supported by the government to create a more circular building sector. In the program, we have 3 focus points, of which one is the reuse of building materials. So the 2 examples that I will show myself are very relevant for that, and we also have the means to support them, create more view for them, and everything surrounding that. The first one I would like to quickly show is the local building hub of Kringloop Plus. Kringloop Plus is, if you translate it, it's a thrift store plus. And it's a local initiative. It's mostly carried by volunteers, and it also gives a place to people who could normally have a little bit of distance towards the job market. And this local thrift shop decided to expand their business and also take used building materials from either companies or from local residents. And they will also try to increase the quality, like was shared with the previous speaker, but only on a little bit less professional level. Like I said, it's mostly done with people with a distance to the job market. But it's a really nice initiative to show what can happen on a very local level without even like a big eye for profit, because the material hub, as you can see here, it's already filling up and they already have a bunch of it sold already to companies that want to reuse it. And I think this would be a very nice example from the bottom-up perspective, where this is not created by big companies, but just by local initiatives, and also sold to local companies or local residents that want to do either small or big projects. And yeah, I would invite you to check it out if you have a visit Groningen. It's very interesting. The second one that I would like to show, it's in Dutch, it's called the tussenstation. That translates to the in-between station. This is a project that is a little bit more on a professional level. It's a cooperation between Borg. Borg is a very progressive demolition company that invests a lot of time and money into demolishing buildings in such a way that they can reuse as much materials as possible. And the idea of tussenstation, which is also a cooperation between the province of Drenthe and the municipality of Hogeveen. So it's a collective project of those three parties. And what they do here is they also spend a lot of time and money into innovation. So they try to really look, I guess, kind of like a wood circle as well as the previous ones, like what tasks are needed and what steps do we need to take in order for the used materials to be able to be reused as new products. And that is something that that they are making steps with. It also proves to be a pretty difficult concept because of all the steps that are necessary to be able to sell it as new. It does require a lot of investment, also time, but also in machines and things like that. So they are walking sometimes into very big challenges, but they are very motivated to keep going. And yeah, it's a very interesting project. I will also invite you to search them on Google and see what maybe you can learn for them, or maybe you have knowledge to share with them. And yeah, that is two local examples I would like to share myself. And now I will give the floor to Peter from the organization Building, but he will introduce himself and explain a little bit more about Building and the Hanse University.
And you will click my slides, or am I able to click myself?
I think I have to do that for you.
Okay, well, that's okay. Thank you, Roy. I will introduce myself. I'm Pieter Omlo. I'm a lecturer at the Hanse University of Applied Sciences in Groningen. A lecturer at the Bachelor of Built Environments, but also a researcher on circular and bio-based design. Could you click the next?
Yes.
We have been working on an applied research project on our campus. It was an actual assignment from the campus organization to create a few pavilions to show innovation on campus, on physical locations. And we took this opportunity to do research, applied research with students on how does this whole process of mining materials, designing a building, engineering, constructing a building with a narrow loop. So not only with reused materials, but narrower with the use of donor buildings. And so how do we mine those donor buildings? What kind of data do we need onto how do we build it? But also how do we build for disassembly, for example, reassembly? We started this process in February 2023. So we just finished the building in 2 years. And in the different phases of the project, we did different smaller research processes. For example, we had 2 donor buildings, and we did a lot of study on not only mapping the materials in the more general way in putting it into a material hub, but in more specific way, what do we need for the design process? What kind of data do we need from the different elements, different materials, different products in a building to be able to start the design process? And also the step from first virtual mining, so having your building blocks not demolished already, but knowing what kind of data you need before you start the design process, and also before you start the deconstruction phase. So, for example, the sizes of doors, the colors of the door, is it possible to reuse in your design process? Could you go to the next point?
Yes.
But also in the design process, you need to design differently because you have a fixed set of materials, a fixed set, for example, of window frames, of doors, and the acceptance of the fixed amount of things you have, that you make your design with those elements. So if we have for example, we had a gray front door opening to the outside with the hinges on the right side, that's a fixed element we need to use. You see here on the right, you see our collection of the materials from deconstruction. Also what Stina was talking about in the previous presentation, in how do you demolish, how do you also sort your materials, check your materials, get the metal out, for example. We have done this together with the students, but also specifically for some beams, we knew in what kind of way we needed to use it in the building. If it was, for example, in view in the inside of the building, or it was in the interior of the construction. So do we need to take the metal out or not? Making this very closed, narrow loop, we were able to do this also only where it was needed, you could say.
Peter, 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We also designed for disassembly. So we prefabricated the units in our facility. So also knowing how much space you need to have your materials stored somewhere, but also to be able to build. We did this with students from different levels, so from our bachelor and vocational students. Also using BIM, so putting our reused materials in the right data system to be able to build. And could you go to the next one?
Yes.
That's the last slide. We finished last year with the actual construction of the building. Two interesting examples are the two middle and right bottom pictures. On the middle bottom, you see a window frame where we actually were able to upcycle. So we had window panes without window frames, and we had also window frames without window panes. And we were able to make new window frames for those window panes. So upcycling the different materials. And you see also on the facade, you see different kinds of materials on the bottom right picture. Also the whole design process, engineering process, we continuously had our eyes open for materials we needed to use. So, well, in general, we tried to get through the whole process of initiative to actually realizing the building in understanding the difference in this kind of design process and engineering process. Thank you.
Thank you, Roy and Peter. Very interesting presentation, by the way. You managed to present 3 cases in 10 minutes, so it was a lot. Thank you very much for your insights. And now again, we will go into other examples. So I will leave the floor to Francesca Galloni, who will present about the waste management and material hubs from a business-oriented perspective. Francesca, yeah, we can see your screen.
Thank you, Chiara. Can you hear me as well?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, can you see my screen properly?
Yes, thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Francesca Galloni and I'm part of the Business Innovation Unit at ICONS. And today I'm going to present you 3 different business models related to the waste recycling. Okay, let's start with 2 concepts that I think you are familiar with. On one side, we have material hubs that are digital or physical spaces where materials are collected and redistributed for reuse, adding value to what would otherwise be considered waste. And on the other side, we have also the industrial symbiosis, which is a collaborative B2B approach that aims to maximize the resource utilization by creating exchange streams between companies. And the final aim is to reduce waste and keep material in productive use as long as possible. Okay, here you can see the three business models that I'm going to present to you. The first one is related to a digital material hub, which is 3Do. It's a startup. Then we have the physical material hub, the upcycling centrum in Almere. And the last one is going to be the industrial symbiosis in Hamburg. So 3Do is a digital platform that acts as a matchmaker between companies looking to become more circular and dispose of their waste and companies that consider that waste a valuable resource for their specific needs. How does it work? So the waste producer enters data about the waste into 3Do platform, and through a matchmaking process, 3Do identifies companies looking for that specific material. In this case, the financial transaction takes place directly between the companies, and only the waste user has to pay a fee to 3Do. 3Do, other revenue streams come from the consultancy service and cloud-based tools for waste management. And additionally, since they are a startup, it also relies on grants and fundings. In this slide, I have included their business model canvas for your reference, so you can explore all the aspects of 3Do's business model after the presentation, because I know there are a lot of information there. So what we can learn from this business case? Okay, so since 3Do operates digitally, it reduces costs related to physical location and waste logistics, of course. And another key advantage is the scalability of this product. So as the platform has the potential to engage a vast network of companies, even at the moment it's just established in Italy. On the other hand, we have some challenges related to the limited control over material logistics and the large number of active users needed to function efficiently. And the last aspect that I want to underline is that there is not the direct involvement of citizens in this case. Let's move to the second one. So our second business case is the upcycling centrum in Almere, Netherlands. It's a municipal waste collection platform that also functions as a startup hub for entrepreneurs in the upcycling sector. Moreover, it actively engages citizens by offering workshops and events on the circular economy. How they exchange and create value. So let's start focusing on the blue flag first, which represents citizen waste. So citizens bring their waste to the upcycling centrum, where a selected group of startups based in the centrum can pick up materials to create new products and commercialize them. But talking about the cost and revenues, citizens, of course, are paying the centrum through their bills, while the centrum is providing facilities plus 5K to support 3 or 4 local entrepreneurs for 1 year and a half. Those startups do not have to pay for materials or facility use, but they are required to collaborate with the Centrum on circular economy awareness activities such as workshops and white papers. In this business model, the last aspect that I want to bring to your attention is that since this is a physical space, they had maximized the opportunities tied to this characteristic. First of all, to promote circularity, the building itself was constructed using recycled materials. And second, they have an experience room which they rent out for events. In this way, they are creating additional revenue stream. As before, you have the business model canvas for your reference. But let's move to the high points. So, of course, this space is highly active and effective in engaging citizens, while also supporting innovation and local entrepreneurs. However, the challenges are associated with the business model are mainly related to the scalability. And unlike a digital platform, it's less scalable to its physical nature. And additionally, the logistical complexities and policies for involving companies can present further challenges. This is the last business model that I'm going to present you today. So it's Kalundborg Symbiosis, which is the first industrial symbiosis founded in 1972. It involves 17 between public and private companies, and the aims is to optimize the use of material, energy, water by promoting exchange of streams between companies. Currently, Kalundborg Symbiosis operates more than 30 different exchange streams, as shown in the table. And every year, the ecosystem generates 40 million in socioeconomic savings. And additionally, it has a significant positive impact in terms of reducing CO2 emissions and optimizing the use of water and energy. Here you can see all the streams connected with each partner, but I provide you this presentation for your reference. Okay, this ecosystem maximizes resource efficiency and promotes industry collaboration and innovation. On the other hand, there are challenges related to the coordination among so many partners. You can imagine if you are working in the European horizon environment, you are always facing with this challenge to coordinate between partners. So, and then we have also logistic aspect and the costs associated with the setting up and maintaining the system. In this case, there is no direct involvement of citizens in this model, but still, as I told you before, we have 17 partners between private and public sector. Okay, just to summarize a little bit, we have seen 3 different models. The first one is Spridu, which is a startup and it's digital, and thanks to this feature, it's very scalable. Then we have the Upcycling Centrum in Almer, which has a high engagement of citizens, and it's also promoting innovation thanks to the startup hub. And the last one, it's Kalundborg Symbiosis, which is a cross-industry, which fosters cross-industry collaborations and the resource efficiency. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Francesca, for this rich presentation on digital, physical, and industrial examples. You also have anticipated some of the aspects that we are going to explore together in the group work. This is exactly the way we are going to work. So touching upon pros, so the drivers, challenges, and other things that we have to take into account that we will discuss later. One thing I think is very important for the context of this workshop to share, as Francesca already said, the presentations, since we are really touching upon a lot of information, and I think it would be of great interest, for instance, to have a look at the business canvases that you presented, and also, of course, other aspects mentioned in the previous presentation. So thank you very much, Francesca. And now we have the last presentation. So Carlo, I will leave the floor to you. This presentation is a bit different from the ones that you've just heard. Yes, Carlo, we can see your screen, so the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Yes, so Carlo Battisti from Living Future, the European affiliate of the International Living Future Institute. So how all of these strategies can be nested into a framework to assess the regenerative approach of building. So this is exactly what we are trying to do with our flagship program, which is called the Living Building Challenge. So the idea is really to move the built environment from less bad approach to a more good approach, obviously passing through green building, sustainability, and then going towards a restorative, regenerative scenario. And obviously this regenerative scenario very much includes also the circular economy approach. So as said, the Living Building Challenge is our main program, is still considered the most ambitious sustainability standard for the built environment. So it is based on the metaphor of a building as a flower. So beautiful as a flower, completely self-sufficient, capable to collect energy, water, and rooted in its place. The metaphor of the flower is also split into these 7 petals, are basically sustainability or old sustainability, now let's say regenerative design areas. Obviously, the materials petal, the materials part is very much important. It's probably the toughest area of the Living Building Challenge framework. And it's a lot about circular economy. It's a lot about healthy materials. It's a lot about, using a responsible approach for the building industry. And these are concepts that can be also considered when it comes to reusing or recycling materials, salvage materials from the built environment. So also in this case, are they healthy enough? For instance, we have this red list with let's say more than 20 chemical families of ingredients that cannot be used in our programs. I'm sure you're familiar with most of them, but there are probably some of them that are still very much used in the building industry, PVC to name one. So we are basically asking the design teams not to include these ingredients in the building process if we want the projects to be certified. Timber materials, wood materials, obviously are also a part of this process. We generally ask that this timber-based product should be certified with the FSC standard, but they can also be salvaged. So basically coming from existing buildings or other construction sites, this is also an opportunity for basically improving the usage, the level of usage of these reclaimed products as we discussed this morning. Another important imperative, as we call this mandatory requirement, is to have local materials. So for instance, in this case, at least 20% or more of the materials construction should come from within a radius of 500 kilometers. Consider that these requirements are based on US standards. 500 kilometers for us in Europe is not a big deal, but obviously in the United States, this is something. Just to say that probably this imperative is the easiest to achieve here for projects in Europe. And there is also a pretty ambitious imperative on net positive waste. So really being able to completely close the loop in waste management. So there is, for instance, again, a requirement to use at least one salvage material per 500 square meters of project surface. So this is interesting. And again, this is an opportunity for all the beautiful examples that we have been seeing so far to be included in these ambitious projects. Some of the speakers mentioned design for disassembly. Indeed, also in this case, design teams are required to develop a materials conservation management plan. So when they are describing what they are doing with the materials in all of the stages of the construction process. And again, as you can see, there are pretty ambitious minimum diversion rates for different type of products in the construction site. So a couple of examples to projects certified with our standards. This is the new building of the Georgia Tech University in Atlanta. This is also certified the Living Building Challenge project. Interestingly, they used a lot of salvage reclaimed materials, like for instance, recycled slates used for interior wall finishes, sourced from another building. stone and granite coming from other buildings to be demolished within the same campus. They also used storm-fallen trees from the campus that they were milled and dried for live edge counters, tables, and benches, and so forth and so on. So they use, for instance, a lot of timber coming from the surroundings, from basically reclaimed purpose. As you see, for instance, in this case, the diversion rates for the waste management in the construction site has been compliant with the requirement, really close to 100%. So this is feasible, and something obviously that the general contractor, the construction companies can implement. Another interesting example from this project is that they also touched based on the social equity and social justice part of the sustainability. So in this case, for instance, they partner with a local organization called Georgia Works, which has basically has the aim to train homeless people to be reintroduced in the economical process. And in this case, they train these workers to basically build these decks, timber decks made with joists reclaimed from another existing project. So in this case, also interesting opportunity to have reclaimed materials on one hand, but also trained workers for the building industry to be reintroduced in the process on the other hand. So another interesting project, this is the house of the founder of the Living Future Network and the Living Building Challenge framework. There is a lot of reclaimed materials in this case. It did really invented this term of salvage modernism. So the idea to introduce old materials, old products within a modern house. So this is an interesting example. So there is really a lot of interesting products here, like for instance, these windows that you see taken from an existing church. Doors, wooden materials, again, interior stained glass used for creating windows, and so forth and so on. These are some of the examples. For instance, on the left, there is a door coming from Afghanistan that was already used in another building in the United States that was reclaimed for this project. There is an old bath tube. You see also timber beam and also a piece of art done with steel materials, and also another window coming from a church, demolished church, to become basically a window for the parking of the bikes, and also a sculpture from Asia. So how he did it, how the owners of the house did all of this process to reuse these materials. Basically, they parted and they found these materials on a couple of shops in the Seattle area. This project is on the Bainbridge Island in front of Seattle. So this shop and this one again. So meaning that there are already shops doing this type of business. We would love to have more of these examples, frankly, in Europe, because there is absolutely very good room for improvement on this case. And I'm closing with another example from Europe. This is something I read on The Guardian last week. This is the city of Leuven in Belgium, where basically they launched this urban mining of building materials project. The person that you see on the right is the city's deputy mayor, which is engaged in creating this process where they're basically engaging local citizens and builders and companies and so forth and so on to reclaim materials from buildings that are going to be demolished, and basically creating a sort of industrial process very similar to what we saw so far in the other great examples. So thank you so much for this opportunity. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you, Carlo. Great also to have this perspective, which is a bit different from what we've heard before, but very important on standards, on certifications, and also thank you for the deep dives into the materials, for the focus on the materials. Okay, we are almost towards the end of the first part of the workshop, so we can now open the floor for the Q&A. I think that the presentation were all very interesting, and they actually add a lot of dimension and aspects that we would like maybe to discuss together. As I said before, we will share the presentations, but given that we have the speakers here, and given that we have touched upon a lot of interesting aspects on business models, on standards, on local circular material hubs, on more European ones. Let's take this opportunity to discuss together. So please feel free to raise your hand if you have comments or if you want to share ideas, insights into the presentations or the topics that we have just explored together. So the floor is open for questions and comments for 10 minutes. And then we will have a break. We will get back after the break for the group work. So any questions, comments, reflections, anything that you would like to share, or questions that you would like to ask to the speakers? Okay, perhaps I can give it a start because I do have some notes here. I would like to start from the Dutch examples, actually. So, Roy and Peter, you mentioned that the what can happen at a local level is also very interesting and very important. And you presented a nice example from a bottom-up perspective. So I was wondering, Roy, if you can expand a bit, sorry, on the dynamics that are important to take into account at a local level when reflecting upon material hubs and circular economy hubs in general, because I think that this kind of perspective is a bit different from the others, and it would be worth it to discuss.
Yeah, I think one of the most important things about initiatives like this is the added value. Because normally, let's say also with my second example, at the end of the day, a lot about it is about finding a working business case. And that's mostly financially driven. And I think the nice thing about this initiative is that it's obviously it also receives additional funding from the government, but that is because they add value in the most in more ways than only reducing waste or only creating a working business case. It's really about creating a community also for local people, and it's about enabling people with a little bit of distance to the job market to actually participate and add value in their own way by doing sometimes simple tasks or more complicated tasks in the future. But I think that is something that this example really sets apart. It's about adding value to the community, to reducing waste, but also, again, the example of helping people find their purpose. And I think that is something that I would like to highlight. And that is what is kind of different from the other examples, in my opinion, is that this is really locally driven, created by people who are very enrooted in the local community. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, definitely, because I think, and maybe because of my background, but as a sociologist, the social component and the social impact of this kind of initiatives is very important. So this is why I asked this question, because I think that it's we have to take into account the social dimensions of this kind of projects. Thank you, Roy. Any other questions or comments, reflections? Marcello, yes?
Yeah, I do have a question for Stine in relation to the urban sawmill concept that was presented. In the end, it was kind of presented as a plugging tool concept in like construction sites, and we discovered that this was like applied in different demonstrators. So I'm wondering, this concept, how much it is replicable elsewhere, or in your opinion, which are the preconditions that make, you know, this can be replicated elsewhere?
Thanks, Marcello. Are you thinking the technology, or are you thinking like the finished product? So the urban sawmill is kind of a finished product, right? In the sense that you have this new kind of addition to your value chain. So it's going to be a business, a separate business. And then the idea was that I think what they are doing at the university in Amsterdam is that they're looking into what exactly would be the way to have the best uptake in the European market. So in the sense, would that be to actually bring the urban sawmill then out to the construction sites, or more like bring the material from the construction sites into the urban sawmill as a big building instead, kind of a huge factory? So I think, I'm not sure exactly which way they will go, but the technology should be the same, right? So the robot technology, looking into first the AI imaging and everything, trying to see how they can clean this timber. But then I think actually it's all depending on what it turns out is the best business model in the end, if it will be the go out to the sites or have the transportation of the materials to the urban sawmill instead. Or maybe the last one I showed with the mix, right? So the hybrid model. Did that answer the question, Marcello?
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Stine.
Thank you.
We have a few minutes more for questions, so feel free to jump in. Otherwise, of course, as I said, I mean, you will get the presentation, so and you can reach out directly to the presenters if you want to, if you have questions or comments. Just to end this first part, I actually, out of curiosity, Carlo, I wanted to ask you something that you mentioned before. You mentioned the shop recovered materials, and I was wondering whether you can, whether there are examples at a European level, on we are just a bit behind the US.
Well, I'm not so informed on this. I know that there are examples, so probably in the Netherlands, if I'm not mistaken. I'm sure there are. In the United Kingdom also, there is also, for instance, this, let's say, already interesting tradition of the repair cafes, so which is something that is also sort of aligned on some of these concepts. But I would say, in my knowledge, we are really at the beginning, because what I see is really the business part is the one that has probably to be very very much developed, let's say very much improved, because obviously all of these processes look very expensive for the moment. Even if there is really a number of positive reasons behind the fact that we are using these reclaimed materials. So it's something very easy to explain. We should really work on creating a business model so that this will be also a booster for new shops, new initiatives of this kind to develop. So really finding a very, efficient and effective business model, so that this could become a norm, let's say, in the building industry, which is not for the moment, obviously.
Thank you, Carlo. Okay, we now have a 10 minutes break. Please don't log out, so stay logged in, so that it's easier for us then to split some of the participants, not all, into some rooms for some group work. As I said, just 1 minute to explain again what we are going to do. So we are 4 facilitators from ICOS. It's myself, Marcello, Marco, and Denise. We will be in 4 different rooms with 4 different teams facilitating a group discussion. During the wrap-up, we will present the findings from the discussion that we are going to have all together. So this is the idea. Okay, let's get into the break and let's meet here. You don't have to do anything. You will be redirected to one room and to a specific team in 10 minutes. So see you at 11:40. Thank you for being on time. See you later.
Thank you, Chiara.
Thank you.
Okay.